Knock, knock, everybody. Derick Van Ness here, investor, wealth strategist, and life adventurer. And today I want to talk about Bitcoin. I know everybody's been talking about it, but there are some really important things that you need to know because is Bitcoin in a bubble? We're going to talk about that so that by the end of this video, you have a really good idea. Now, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm not an investment advisor. This is not investment advice. This is me sharing my thoughts on the things that I see happening and speculating. But you need professional help if you really want to go out and be a pro at this stuff, right? So make sure you talk to an advisor. This is entertainment purposes and a lot of fun. So let's have some fun with it. So here's the deal. You know, Bitcoin, since the beginning of the year, and I did a video a couple of weeks back that you can check out where I kind of go through the history and the whole thing, but since the beginning of the year, it's up about 80%, right? Depending on the day and whatever, but it was around low 20s beginning of the year, and now we're up around 50. So it could be 100%, depending on exactly when you look at all of it. But long story short, it has been going straight up. Now, notably, it went like crazy in January, then it kind of pulled way back in February, and then it went way back at the end of February. And the last week here or so, we've had kind of some ups and some downs and some things, but a lot's changed since I did that last video about 5 or 6 weeks ago. And so here's a couple of things that make us think, because listen, when people think about Bitcoin, they think about what happened in 2017, 2018, right? End of the 17, early 18, where it just went screaming up. It went from like nothing up to like $20,000. And then very shortly thereafter, it crashed and went way down. Now, volatility is one of those things that cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular are known for, right? It's this up and this down and this major surge and all this stuff. But that is only one instance. And listen, crypto's gone way up and way down multiple different times. So it's known to be volatile. And so that's not that big of a deal or something that's a surprise. The question is, are we currently in a bubble? I mean, who can watch something go up 60, 70, 80% over the course of a couple of months and not think it's a bubble, right? In fact, if you look back about a year, I think Bitcoin's up about 460% from a year ago, which is insane, right? Just crazy, crazy, ludicrous, the growth. So how can we even think this isn't in a bubble? Well, I'm here to tell you, I don't think that Bitcoin is a bubble. Now, listen to me. I used to be a hater. I was not a believer in cryptocurrency because I was like, well, like if all the Bitcoin in the world disappeared, who cares, right? The world's just fine and nobody would really matter. And I like things that have intrinsic value, like real estate or businesses or other kinds of assets that, like, if Amazon disappeared tomorrow, people would notice, right? Like they fill a serious need. Cryptocurrency, in my mind, wasn't filling a serious need. Over the last couple of months, well, past year, but especially in the last 6 months, I've become a believer. And here's a couple of reasons why. One is we're coming into a period of what I believe to be some major inflation coming up. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but if you haven't seen them, there's about 40% more dollars in the economy today than there were 1 year ago pre-pandemic. That's crazy, right? So here's the deal. If there's 40% more dollars are worth less. Prices of things have to go up because people can afford more stuff. But here's the thing, that's not just happening in the United States, that's happening all over the world. Governments are supporting their people, printing money, doing anything they can to get through this whole mess, the economic ones and the health crisis and all the other things that are going on. So there's a lot going on out there that's causing inflation to start to happen in a lot of places. And we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. You know, here in the US, we just passed another almost $2 trillion stimulus bill that's going to push us through. And if you look at my economic forecast from a couple of weeks ago, I did a video talking about that. I explained what I see all the macroeconomic factors are. All of those do impact Bitcoin though, because as money goes, or as inflation goes up, money goes down in value. People are looking for safe places to put their money. Now, I'm about to say something that's really controversial, but you know, in the past, people have put a lot of their money into gold and silver, right? To kind of be that hedge against inflation, that rock solid thing that's going to protect your money's value. But the reality of it is, gold's in the same boat as Bitcoin. Like if all the gold in the world disappeared, other than the fact that your wedding ring or your gold tooth smile or whatever, you wouldn't even notice it, right? Like, what do we really use gold for? We don't, right? And I've talked about why gold has been the standard for so long, but the truth of the matter is it doesn't have the intrinsic value either. It's just been a place a storehold of wealth, a place that you can hold money. Now, some of the biggest people in the world are starting to come around to this idea. Even the Ray Dalios of the world are saying that they think it's worth considering that there might be a transition happening here. And I believe at least partially that's happening because of a couple of things. One, the biggest thing that's legitimized it for me is companies like Apple and Tesla and MassMutual are putting money into this. These are some of the biggest, smartest, most forward-thinking companies in the world, and they're putting significant portions of money into this. And there's a ton of other companies that have put a lot of money into it, but they're legitimizing it. They're making it more stable. A ton of hedge funds have been putting money into Bitcoin, just a small amount, 1%, 2%, 5% at most in most cases. But if all those hedge funds bring that money in, that's going to stabilize and solidify it even further than it already has been. And there's been all this volatility, this up and down, but the difference now is so different because in the past, if there was some major swings or a big player dumped their money or put money in, you could cause major surges. And we even see that at today's size of Bitcoin. But as it gets bigger, as it becomes worth more, it becomes more and more stable. If we now have a 10 or 15% drop in the past 6 months, people consider that to be a major swing. Whereas in the past, it was 30, 40, 50% because it was so small. Now, when you buy a Bitcoin for $50,000, if you put 50 grand in there and it drops 10,000 points, you've only lost 20%. Or if it goes up 10,000 points, it's only gone up 20%. In the past, if it was at 5,000 and it dropped 3,000, you lost 60% of value. And so that volatility as it gets bigger is getting smaller, which is making it more stable. And it's super easy to transact. So as it becomes more stable and more people have access to it, because let's be honest, like things like gold and silver are very difficult. I mean, you can buy those kinds of stocks, but if you need to go and buy physical gold or silver, you have to go to a place and you have to deal with that and you have to store it. With Bitcoin now, it can all be done online with apps and transactions. It's becoming easier and easier to buy things with it, to use it as a real currency as opposed to just a store of wealth. Visa's looking at bringing it online so that you can pay for things with Visa via Bitcoin. I'm sure that's going to be a clunky transition, but all the steps are there that's saying the system is being built for this. There is a demand for it. People want it. And another huge thing for these big hedge funds and companies is it's not correlated to the stock market. If the stock market goes down, Bitcoin's very likely to go up, right? Because people are going to get out of the market and they're looking for a place to store their money that's liquid, that's safe, that they can use it. And it is so far one of, if not the best solution for that. And so I think what we're seeing here is the beginnings of a transition away from the gold standard and maybe into something like a digital currency or Bitcoin. The future remains to be seen whether Bitcoin is the winner of that game, but it certainly seems poised to be the front runner. And in many cases, the company that is the front runner is the company that ends up reaping all the rewards, right? And Bitcoin's not a company, by the way, but the group that does that. So realistically, I feel like it's being legitimized here. I feel like it's here to stay outside of major government intervention. And I think it's almost to the point where it's so big, so many high net worth individuals, high net worth companies. These are what drive a lot of the politics in our country and in many other countries are the wealthy people. So many of them are getting into it that I can't believe that there would just be like a cutoff by a government. That had always been my concern, is if governments get threatened by this and they pass some law or they outlaw it, it could be a problem. The truth is, I guess China has attempted that, and a lot of the trading that was happening out of China went just to neighboring countries, to Korea, to Japan, to other places. If China can't shut it down, I don't know who can. So I feel like we're cresting that hill. Now, this doesn't mean go dump all your money into it, but it's very fascinating to watch as it goes. And if inflation becomes a bigger issue, which I believe it will, the consumer price index, which has always been the standard for what is inflation, has been showing closer to 2% inflation. But if you look at things like shadow stats or some of the other things that are out there, they're showing significantly higher, closer to 7% inflation. Ray Dalio's people at Bridgewater have said they thought the dollar lost like 15% in value this past year, which indicates a lot of inflation. So inflation is coming. So the reality of it is all of these things stack up. Bitcoin is becoming more stable, more legitimized by large companies and hedge funds. It's becoming easier to transact. People are becoming, it's becoming less volatile as it gets bigger. And I think all of those lead to the fact that more people will be storing more money in there, which is going to push the price higher. Because one of the cool things about Bitcoin is it's not a fiat currency, meaning it is, you can't just print more of it. They're printing they create a certain amount at a certain period of time. And once we hit 26 million Bitcoins, that's it, it's done, right? And that could create a lot of stability. Now that might lead to hard times for certain countries and different things, but that's a whole different video. Long story short, I don't think that this is a bubble for Bitcoin. I could be wrong, I don't have a crystal ball, but everything that I see economically with the big picture says that people are looking for a place to store money that's more stable and safe, that can be transacted more easily, that's liquid, and right now where they can get a nice rate of return to help offset the inflation that's likely to be happening and that I believe is happening in the background, even though people haven't acknowledged it yet. So if you thought this was valuable, please be sure to smash that like button, give us a thumbs up, hit the little bell, and also if you haven't seen my past video on Bitcoin and all the other things that are going on behind the scenes, you can check that one out right now. I think you're gonna love it. It gives you a lot more in-depth thought, more people to check out, more ideas. I just wanted to give an update on this because I think it's a huge topic and it's gonna make a massive difference for you. So go check out that video now.